Hey guys, good morning. Today we'll be talking about the newest character in CGN, as well as the first character to be introduced in the China server, who was also recently introduced here in the global server as well. So Faye is a void character. That's not Faye. As well as a ranger. So some key things to play or to take note of how rangers play is that specifically for Faye, she has means of doing draws. So let's talk about Faye. As I've said before, Ranger and Void. Primarily, you play her more of as a DPS characters. She has means of drawing her own cards better. There are some caveats whenever she does do some of those draws. They're like 1 or lower since she mostly plays around 0 cost cards or X+1 cards. For the cards, as always, we have the 2 basic cards. However, for her, one of the big node upgrades, she gains 1 Flame Arts. So Flame Arts, whenever it reaches 3 stacks, an additional 120% extra damage to the enemy that was attacked last. So this does an extra damage. And then decreases, so you stack those and then you deal extra damage. It's a good way of dealing enough damage, or at least having some bonus hits towards enemy. Next, Melancholy. This is just a basic shielding skill, nothing too special. So the main thing that Faye plays around is the Exorcist formation, which is an upgrade card. It does have unique and initiation, and on draw, 1 descent, create 8 Inferno Rhapsodies in the draw pile. So some things to take note here is that first, on draw, through an ability. So it doesn't like necessarily limit draws coming from Faye herself. You can use other characters to be the draw engine, and then she'll be able to get descent. So on descent, 8 or more creates 1 Heaven's Fall. When Heaven's Fall is created, decreases descent by 8, activates a max of 10. So you can only have like, I believe, 10 Heaven's Fall per turn. So for the specifics, Inferno Rhapsody is a 0 cost attack card, 84% damage, or I think it's 80% on base, or 75, one of the two. 1 Flame Arts. When Flame Arts is activated through this card, draw 1. So you can see how Faye is going to be played, right? You do some means in order to draw a lot of Inferno Rhapsody so you can keep on generating Flame Arts as well as draw. It's almost somehow self-sufficient. Of course, there's like instances where other cards are going to muddle your deck. However, if you do try to limit the amount of cards that you have in the deck, there's a potential of being able to spam Inferno Rhapsody and generating Heaven's Fall. So Heaven's Fall, ephemeral. So whenever end of turn and you don't use it, we exhaust this card, and whenever we play the card, it gets exhausted. So it's 120% damage times 3. So it's around 363% damage. That's a lot of hits. That's a lot of damage. So you can see that for the second mechanics he has, Heaven's Fall, there's a times 3. So Faye has 2 types of playing around, or at least one of the ways to play around her is using either Inferno Rhapsody, playing around that, or you can also play as Heaven's Fall, try to buff up the X+1 types of damage amounts or multi-hits. For the upgrades, let's see the epiphanies. So for the first one, of course, it's still a same old. 1 cost upgrade card, of course. On draw, through an ability, 1 descent, 8 Rhapsody, and then we have the added effect of plus 50 damage amount to those cards. I'd say it isn't too good. It's more or less like a morale buff. I think there are other good options to go for instead. Number 2. Same thing over here, but at the start of turn, draw 1 Inferno Rhapsody. This is pretty good, I think. This lets us ensure that we always get Inferno Rhapsody, right? The other thing is that since it's an upgrade card, we don't necessarily have to waste anything more, and we're still guaranteeing the Inferno Rhapsody. I'm not sure how good this is. Number 3. Same thing, but have draw 2. This seems kind of redundant. There are some cases where you can use this card specifically if you're trying to one-turn kill. This could be useful, like you're trying to ensure that on the first rotation that you're doing for Fae, you're able to kill the enemy. Since it's a 0 cost kill and we're doing 2 draws, but the expectation here is that we're doing a sequence of events wherein we kill the enemies fast. Okay, number 4. 1 Descent, create 7 Inferno Rhapsody. So we're losing 1 in draw pile. When Flame Arts is activated, gain 100% extra attack on target. So, as you know, extra attacks are always going to be scaling with morale. And this is a good means of having like additional damage effects if we're doing the Flame Art spamming. So I think this is a pretty good option to go for. Number 5. On draw. 1 Descent, create 6 Rhapsody on draw pile. I'm not sure how good this is because this is a specific like thing. I think in this case, the goal here is that we're trying to build more of Heaven's Fall, since this is Inferno Rhapsody Heaven, right? We're getting more descents through the activation of this variant. Not too sure. If we're gonna rate them, I'd go for 2 or 4. 3 is a good option as well. And then the others is just whatever. Next, Soliloquy. Draw 2. Of those drawn cards, discard all 1 cost or higher cards. So this is what I was talking about, where it is heavily catered towards Fae and units that have 1 or less cards. Or sorry, that are 0 cost cards, right? So it's quite straightforward. First one, draw 3 instead of 2. This is a really good upgrade. I think it's one of the best upgrades among these. It's very straightforward. Number 2. Draw 2 of 0 cards of this unit. So this is specifically catered towards Fae. And since we're going specifically for 0 cost cards, it's pretty good choice as well. Number 3. Just 1 cost. Activate 3 Inferno Rhapsody. Draw. Rhapsody in draw pile on the target. 2 Descent for each activated card. So once, the only issue I have with this is that yes, we do get Inferno cards, but what happens if we use all of the Inferno cards in the discard pile or have been used? We do get like additional Descent, right? So this 6 from the 3 Rhapsodies. So I'm not sure. This is all in your own prerogative, I guess. Number 4. Draw 1. When a 2 cost or lower card of this unit is drawn, activate that card and draw 2. So this is like we're just coin flipping in this, right? So, but it does have like a condition wherein specifically has to be like pay. So if we're playing like a deck with a very bare bones on the other 2 combatants, this could be good. Number 5, draw 1 with a cost of X. Apply the X of that card as X+1. So this is very conditional, right? It specifically needs to be an X card. So if I'm going to rate it, first, second would be your best options. 4 would be a good way to gamble on a specifically Fae deck. 5 is okay. I think this is like a fair C. Depends on what type of deck you're going for. And then number 3 is just whatever. Next one. Night Rain. 1 Flame Arts, 0 cost skill. On streak, so this is a new mechanic by the way. If the last card used was of the same attribute, enable effect. So since Fae is a void, ensure that you're playing a void card before you do this. So this becomes you're using 100% of its efficiency or the use case of this card. Okay, for the Epiphanies, draw 2 originally from one. This is okay. Yeah, this is okay. It's nothing too special. It's quite straightforward. Number two flame arts. On streak, the next 2 times flame arts is activated. 2 flame arts. So we're next 2 times. So we get 2 plus 2 plus 2, right? So this is essentially a 6 flame arts. And if we're playing the Inferno Rhapsody well, we get infinite amounts of flame arts, right? So this is a flame art, pretty good at flame art stacking. Number 3, because of 1 cost skill, 1 flame art for each Inferno Rhapsody in the graveyard. So this is a specific conditional card. The issue here I see is that it's a 1 cost skill. Maybe 2 could be an easier thing to proc. Number 4, 0 cost. 2 flames arts at the start of the turn, move to hand. So we're getting free 2 flame arts. And we're getting this card immediately, right? So we're lessening the deck size and having this guaranteed. I'm not sure. This could be good. Number 5, on 1 flame arts, on streak apply an X as X plus 2. This is really big, especially if you're going for like a Heaven's Fall or you're using the Soul Fire Dance, which is our next card. I think this is pretty good. If I'm going to rate, 2 and 4 would be your best options. 1 and 5 could be good. 3, I'm not sure. The last one for the Epiphanies, Soul Fire Dance, 120 X plus 1. So we need a parenthesis here for the PEMDAS, by the way. So it's X plus 1 times 120% and then draw X. Pretty straightforward. X is always going to be the AP cost that you have before you play this card. On first Epiphany, we increase the damage from 120 to 180, so it's a 6% increase. Kind of whatever. This becomes a unique. Activating Inferno Rhapsody in Graveyard on target for each hit count. So this scales with the amount of AP you use. So if we, let's say, since X plus 1, if we have 9 Rhapsodies, okay, so it becomes 10, right? And then we activate Inferno 10 times. Could be good. And then depending on the... Does the Inferno Rhapsody have draw? I think it does. I think it's a pretty interesting thing to consider. Number 3, decrease of the amount of the next Heaven's Fall by 50% for each hit count. So 9 up to 500%. So you can only have 10. Okay, but the 120 times 360 Heaven's Fall damage is kind of weak considering, right? Number 4, draw X. X Flames Arts times 2, X Descents. So we're playing around Flame Arts, right? Compared to this one where we're making it increase damage. So that's your own choice, I guess. Number 5, on a 2 AP cost, we add 1 hit to Flame Arts. I'm not sure. So if I were good to choose, right? All of these seems whatever. We could consider just removing this card, but it really depends on what type of build you're going for, right? I have 3 phase to upgrade over here. I'm still considering what to go for. Next, partners. Quite straightforward. As always, the partner included in the banners are best choice. Other good options would be probably still be Ruixiang, Rosaria, and Daisy for stat stick. Otherwise, let's look at Ruixiang. So this is specific, a ranger partner. This is her partner skill over here. So increases assigned combatants attack by 16%, which is quite big. Each time an assigned combatant creates a void attribute card, which in this case Faye uses Inferno Rhapsody. So we get up to 20. We get up to what 25% damage amount included. That's pretty good. Plus 20% critical damage. So this is among all of the partners as of recent. This is quite it's still catered towards Faye, right? But it isn't as like egregiously obviously catered towards the character. This is pretty good, all things considered. Her ego skill is an EP 3. Draw one of the assigned combatant attack card. If the cost of that card is either 0 or X, draw 2. So this is pretty good. Essentially a 3 cost deck, depending on how you build your Fae deck. I think she's a pretty good character to own. You don't necessarily need her, I think. But as you know, like as time progresses, almost every time each partner buffs the combatant quite well. So do I suggest pulling her? Maybe. Next, save data. I don't have a pretty good save data. This is the best I can do. So the idea here is that we're trying to play around flame arts. It's quite straightforward, I think. I have nothing. There's some like things to take note of course. We remove that basic attack cards, we move the shielding over here. We can either lean towards playing around flame arts. So for example, we're using Night Rain in order to generate a lot of flame arts as well as a Soulfire Dance. I could change this one. I think this is pretty good enough. So the idea here is that we're using the extra attack damage from flame arts. Pretty good. As for equipment, of course, standard damage equipment would be fine. This one's pretty alright. Vulnerable over here. So I need to find a means of applying vulnerable by maybe fishing for a divine epiphany for these. This one's like just a typical damage amount. As for potentials, phase quite straightforward. What you do need to do as always is upgrade your big nodes. For this one, adds one flame art. Azure Flame is the basic attack. You might need this initially before we remove things. If you're playing for a flame arts build, this is a really good ways to like start up your deck whenever you're playing sortie. As always, go for your crit damage and crit chance. That nodes over here. Get the Divine Epiphany chance over here. Unique cards or signature cards. They changed the name. Pretty good. And then this one, of course, increasing the damage amount specifically for Void. So just as a typical standard like DPS upgrade paths where we go for big nodes and then go for your crit damage and crit rate. And then finally our signature cards. Memory Fragments. I'm not lucky. I've been trying to fish for another 2-2-2 set. It's a same old of going for crit rate, crit damage, extra attack, attack percent, attack, and then going for crit rate for your necklace over here. Going for void attack over here, attack percent, and then going for attack percent over here. Okay, time for dupes. Sleeping Memory. Add the following effect to the Blazing War Dance. So basically, this isn't too important. It's just a straight up 100% damage increase for whenever the card is moved. I don't think it's too game changing towards Fae. Maybe skip it. Number 2. Gain 6 descent on start of each turn. No, at the start of battle, gain 6 descent. Okay, so we have 6 already. And for each turn, when first Heaven's Fall is created, 2 descent. So we're getting slight cashback. And then we're having bonus damage set on Infernal Rhapsody. I think this becomes a very interesting ego upgrade for specifically like Faye, making her Heaven's Fall quite more usable. But I don't think it's game affecting, or it makes the damage she dishes out quite important. I don't think so. Number 3. Increase Heaven's Cleaver. This is the ego skill. We did read this, by the way. So this gains this a 5 ego skill gains 10% for 2 turns. Increase the damage amount of Heaven's Fall. So this is the issue with her ego skill. I don't think it's too good since that we're playing around like Heaven's Fall, right? Not my cup of tea. This makes her more viable to play towards Heaven's Fall, but I'm not too favoring too much of this. Number 4, this is just a standard Heaven's Fall. Number 5 is the typical upgrades. And finally, E6. Start of battle, increases damage amount of Flame Arts by 120%. So this is basically like what? Morale buffs for Inferno Rhapsodies. And then on every third Heaven's Fall, we get additional 3 hits. So I think, as always with every E6, their effects are quite substantial. But in terms of like efficiency wise, I don't think that any of these ego skills are of priority when it comes to like Faye. So that being said, where do I think Faye is in the current meta? I think she's a solid character. I wouldn't say she's as strong as the Nebria. She is the first character introduced in a China server. However, in this case, I don't think you necessarily need to pull her. But of course, if you're trying to like own all the characters or you really like her design, pull her. Otherwise, go with your heart. That's it for this video. Appreciate you all. Have a nice day.